Alright dear students, so we have been discussing this particular problem. We want to find out the capacitance of this system where x distance of this parallel plate capacitor is filled with a dielectric material for which the dielectric constant is K, right? And we have been solving that in the previous video lecture. So 1 upon C equivalent is equals to, as you can see, 1 by epsilon naught A, and then this is x is going up, so x upon K, plus this d minus x is going up, so d minus x. Okay, so epsilon naught and A, that has been taken out as the common factor. Alright, so from here K is the LCM, and we can have x plus dk minus x into K. Alright, then in the next line we can have K into d minus x into K minus 1. K is the dielectric constant which is greater than 1. Okay, so we have taken minus x and then K minus 1. So C equivalent will be given by, take the inverse of this, so epsilon naught A times K divided by Kd minus x K minus 1. Okay, K is the dielectric constant, D is the plate separation, x is the depth of the dielectric material, and A is the area of the plate. So that is how we calculate the equivalent capacitance for such system. Next we will do another problem that is not actually a problem, but when we have been doing this parallel plate capacitor filled with dielectric media, suppose that is the dielectric media and this is one plate, this is another plate. Okay, so that is almost touching the plates. So there will be polarized charge, so there will be surface charge density of this polarized charge. What is the magnitude of that charge which is induced or which is originating from the polarization? That we want to find out. So this is our parallel plate capacitor connected to a battery. That is the plate. Area is again A, and the separation is again D. Okay, and this is our positive plate having charge plus Q. This is having charge minus Q, and this is filled with a dielectric material. So we know that there will be bound charge or charge due to polarization. Here we will be having minus Q P, and here we will be having plus QP. What is this QP? Okay, that you want to find out. Alright, what is the electric field at any point due to this free charge? Free charge means the charge that is given to the plate from outside, not due to the dielectric. So that electric field would be, we will call it external electric field. Just to distinguish that from the electric field generated by this induced charge, and that is sigma upon epsilon naught, and sigma is the charge density, that is Q upon A into epsilon naught, right? And electric field at that point due to this bound charge or polarized charge, that will be EP, and that will be sigma P upon epsilon naught. And what is this sigma P? That is simply QP upon A epsilon naught, right? QP, that is the polarized charge, A is the area, charge density by epsilon naught. Okay, so that is the electric field in this direction, that is due to this dielectric, and that is the electric field because of this charge on the plate. Okay, so what is the net field? That E field will be, we know that is E naught minus EI, or you can call that EP actually. So that will be simply Q by A epsilon naught minus QP by A epsilon naught, right? Now what is that? That is the reduced electric field, that is the resultant electric field in between the two plates. And from the definition of dielectric constant we know that this E is nothing but E naught by K, right? This is a reduced field, and that has a direction in this direction. So E naught by K. Okay. So this value, now E naught by K, what is that? E naught by K, E naught means this Q by A epsilon naught into K. That is the value. So this is equals to, I am writing it in a single line, Q upon A epsilon naught minus QP upon A epsilon naught. Right? We want to find out what is this QP. So from here you can say, alright, I can bring this term here and I will bring this term here. So Q due to polarization over A epsilon naught, I am bringing this term here and bringing this term here. So that is Q by A epsilon naught minus Q upon A epsilon naught into K. Okay. We want to find out what is this QP. From both sides, we can cancel this A epsilon naught, right? A is the area and epsilon naught is the permittivity, the non-zero term. So from here we will say that QP is equals to, take Q as common here, and that is 1 minus, what is that? 1 by K, right? So that is the charge due to polarization. Very simple. We have parallel plates connected to battery. For that, the plates are getting charged plus Q and minus Q. But since we are inserting another dielectric slab between these two plates, there is polarization of that dielectric material, and there is minus QP and plus QP due to polarization, and the magnitude of that charge is given by Q times 1 minus 1 upon K. Alright. From here, we would like to talk about Gauss law. Okay, let us see if there is dielectric media, what happens to Gauss law. So this is suppose our parallel plate capacitor. So this is suppose having the positive charge, this is having negative charge, and these two plates are connected to a battery, positive and negative. Alright. Now if we have dielectric here, then we know that there will be negative charge, that is called QP. This is our plus Q actually, and this is negative QP. This is our minus Q, and this is our, originally this is negative charge, but there will be induced positive charge, so that will be QP. Okay. Now if we apply the Gauss theorem here, suppose you want to find out the electric field at some point here, what do? We draw looking at the symmetry. Remember that is actually a plate. This is actually a plate, right? So we can draw one imaginary surface like that. Okay. Gaussian surface. Okay. Now, what is the electric field? Now, electric field lines are coming like that. That you know, right? So, what is the total flux through this Gaussian surface? That will be E dot ds, right? So this is we are doing right now. Gauss law, the modified version of the Gauss law due to the presence of the dielectric. So this will be equals to charge enclosed upon epsilon naught. So E dot ds, E and ds, they are in the same direction. So this is simply E ds cos 0 degree. So simply E ds. But at every point on the surface, E is same. So E can come out, and what is this ds? Let me just write it like that. No problem. We are just going to write the modified version. Now what is Q enclosed? Look, there are two different type of charge. One is the charge that is supplied by the battery, that is Q, and then there is minus QP divided by epsilon naught. Q minus QP epsilon naught. That is the charge enclosed by this Gaussian surface, right? Now Q minus QP by epsilon naught, just in the previous problem we did that. Q minus QP by epsilon naught, in the previous problem I should not have erased it, and that was how much? That was Q by epsilon naught into K. If you go back to the previous one, you will see there we did this Q minus QP by epsilon naught. There was actually an A, there was actually a. Okay, that is the reduced field, and that is the resultant field. Q upon A epsilon naught, right? That is the field due to the charge given by the battery, and then minus Qp by A epsilon naught, that is the charge produced by the induced charge or polarized charge. So that is equals to basically the reduced field, which is original field by K. So from the previous one you can see that. So that means this is equals to this. So instead of this we can use this. This means basically Q. What is that Q? Q upon epsilon naught K, that we can use. Okay, this K is a constant, we can bring it here, so you can write this is K E dot ds equals to Q upon epsilon naught. Now what is this Q? This Q has nothing to do with the charge due to dielectric. This is, we can call it free charge. We are calling this Q free just to emphasize the fact that this charge Q is due to the terminal of the battery, that is not coming from the polarization. Okay, so now look, this is the modified version of the Gauss theorem in presence of the dielectric. Now in the original Gauss theorem we did not have this constant K, we did not have this free charge, we called it total enclosed charge. So this is different than the original Gauss theorem in two ways. One, this charge is not the total charge enclosed, because total charge is what? Q minus Qp. But this is Q free. That is only the charge from the outside source, not due to the dielectric polarization. And here we have a constant. Okay. You don't have to worry about this alternative form of Gauss theorem too much, but it is good to know that how can you tackle this kind of problem. After this, we will use this modified version of Gauss law to find out this very interesting problem. That is, suppose we have infinite dielectric, we are surrounded by air, right? Now imagine we are immersed in dielectric media. Air is dielectric media. You can imagine a much better dielectric media, okay, having a very high K, alright. And there is a source charge Q here. There is a source charge Q here. And around this we have dielectric. So you can say it's infinite dielectric media. We want to find out the electric field at this point R, okay, due to this charge. Now this is not vacuum, this is not air, okay, this is not vacuum. So what is the electric field at this point? How to find out that? We will be using this modified version of Gauss theorem. We will imagine our Gaussian surface like a sphere like that, okay, and then we will apply this law. If this has radius R, then if we apply this law, then look at this. K is a constant, K will come out. E at every point on this, because there is R, that will be constant. So E also will come out, okay. So E dot ds means what? E and ds both are in the same direction. So E ds is E ds cosine 0 degree. So there is 1. So K E, and this is integration of ds, and that is Q free. Q free means what is that? That is simply Q. So that is Q by epsilon naught. And so here we have K E, and this is nothing but 4 pi R square. So Q upon epsilon naught. If I write the answer here, so that will give us E equals to Q by 4 pi R square. 4 pi epsilon naught is there, 4 pi epsilon naught is there, K is there, and then R square is there. See, if the charge is in vacuum, then we don't have this dielectric constant. Now we have this dielectric constant here. But anyway, it is not that difficult, it is actually very easy. But we are using this alternative form of Gauss theorem where we have dielectric present in the scenario. Alright, so we are almost done. Last couple of things. One is that the total energy stored in a dielectric media, stored in a capacitor, we have found out that is half CV square. Right. We also have found out that the capacitance in a parallel plate capacitor is modified if we have dielectric material in between the two plates, right? And if this is the capacitance in presence of vacuum, I mean if there is no other dielectric, this is C naught. If we insert dielectric media, dielectric constant is K, then this is the modified capacitance. Okay, so what is the energy stored in this kind of capacitor where we have dielectric constant? We will say let put it prime. Okay, so U prime will be half C prime V square, and then this is half, what is C prime? That is K C naught. So that will be C prime is what? K C naught V square, and very simple. This is basically half C V naught square, and there is a K term, and this is the energy. This is the energy when there is only vacuum. So you see the energy stored in a capacitor when there is dielectric media in between the two plates is K times more than the energy stored in the parallel plate capacitor in vacuum. So, but how this new energy is being created? Because the dipoles, the moment dielectric media is there is dipole-dipole interaction. The dipoles are getting partially oriented. There is induced charge, and those dipoles are interacting with each other, and that interaction energy is actually adding up to the total electrostatic potential energy. Ultimately, there is a conservation of energy. Energy cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. So this extra energy, it looks like okay, it's K times more energy. How is it coming? That is because of the interaction of the dipole moments. Alright, next one. This is the last thing we will do. Suppose we have a spherical conductor, big spherical conductor having radius r, and a small spherical conductor having radius small r. Okay. Now they are connected by a simple conducting wire. Okay. This has got charge. If I give some charge to it, what will happen? If I give charge Q to it, okay, there will be Q1 charge and there will be Q2 charge. No doubt about that, they will be distributed, and there is a conducting wire. But the potential here will be same, right? It is equipotential surface. If this is not equipotential, charge will continue to move. But this is equipotential surface. Ultimately, the potential here will be same. Okay. So what is the potential on this surface V1? That is, we know 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught, and that is Q1. So that is Q1 by R, right? 1 by 4 pi epsilon naught Q1 by R, that is the potential here. What is the potential here? That is 1 upon 4 pi epsilon naught, and this is Q2 by R. This is small r actually. So that is the potential on the surface. Q2 amount of charge is there, Q1 charge is there, and we are assuming that this is conductor, but basically no charge is here. Ultimately there also should be some charge, but very negligible amount of charge. Almost all the charges will be on the surface of the sphere, sphere 1 and sphere 2. Now these two potentials are equal. This is equipotential surface, right? So we will equate these two potential. If we equate these two potential, so these two will be equal, this quantity and this quantity, right? This is the potential. So 4 pi epsilon naught. Now you note one thing. If I multiply here by R and R here, we have 4 pi R square. Similarly, we will multiply here by R on the top and here on the bottom. So this is Q1 by, so what is it is becoming something like this. Q1 by 4 pi R square. You can cancel this epsilon naught, no problem. So Q1 by 4 pi R square times R. This is equals to this Q2 by 4 pi, this is capital R, right? 4 pi R square into smaller, right? Now what is that? That is the surface charge density. You see Q1 amount of charge is here on the surface, and that is the surface area. So this is the sigma 1 into R. This is the surface density of charges on the surface, or surface charge density on the first sphere. That is equals to, this is what? That is your sigma 2, and this is your small r. Okay, so these two are equal. So from here we can say, from here you can write a very interesting result, that is sigma 1 by sigma 2 is equals to r by r. But r is smaller than r. R is much smaller than r. So sigma 1 is much smaller than sigma 2. That means if we have two conducting spheres like that connected by a conducting wire, and if we give q amount of charge on that, the charges will be distributing each other in such a way that the potential will be constant. But most importantly, the surface charge density here is more than the surface charge density here. They have to maintain the same potential, so the charge distribution is not same. Okay, now instead of this two discrete sphere, if you imagine something like that, suppose we have a pointed needle like that, and we have a construction like that. Okay, so you can say, if you give charge q to it, the charge will be distributed, but the charge density at different point will be different. This is like this flatter region, this is like the part of the bigger sphere, and this is like the part of smaller sphere. So sigma p at this point, if I say it sigma 2, if I call it sigma 1, so this sigma 2 will be much greater than sigma 1. Okay, and that is the reason. So if we have a conductor with pointed needle, like on the top of the houses we have this trident. Okay, if you have trident, the pointed needle, so during lightning this tip has very high charge density, so the electric field here is very high. Okay, so if you have a flatter region, the charge will be distributed, but here because of this pointed needles, the charge distribution is very high. Anyway, so it is good to know that the question might be that why the charge distribution is not uniform over the surface of such type of configuration. Then you have to explain this way. Okay, so with this we can actually conclude this chapter, capacitor and capacitance. Okay, and I hope you have understood all the concepts. If you still have doubt, please you write the questions to me, and we can of course discuss over the team link, over the online classes. Okay, and if possible, maybe we can do couple of numericals. All right, just a minute. All right, dear students. At the beginning we said that most of the capacitors are of the order of microfarad or nanofarad range. They are not of the farad range, because we had given one example, that is, if we want to create 1 farad, if you want to have a capacitor having capacitance 1 farad using a spherical capacitor, the size of the spherical capacitor will be much bigger than the size of the arc, which is actually impossible. But for electrolytic capacitor, the range of capacitance can be very high, like 0.1 farad, because of the very small separation between them. But in general, let us see why it is difficult. Suppose you want to create a capacitance having 2 farad capacitor, a parallel plate capacitor, suppose you want to make, and suppose the separation between them is 0.5 centimeters. Okay, and this is the plate, this is the plate, this is the positive plate, and this is the negative plate. Question is, what should be the area of this plate so that the capacitance should be 2 farad? Alright, we know the capacitance of this capacitor will be given by C equals to epsilon naught, that's kept in vacuum, A upon D. So D is given to us, epsilon naught is known to us, so A will be equals to C into D upon epsilon naught, right? A would be C into D by epsilon naught. C we want to make it 2 farad, so 2. Distance is 0.5 centimeter. So 0.5 into, if we want to come to meter, it is 10 to the power minus 2, right? Meter. Divided by epsilon naught is 8.854 into 10 to the power minus 12 in SI unit. Okay. If you calculate that, that will be almost like 1.13 into 10 to the power 9 meter. So that will be like almost 1 meter square, kilometer square. You calculate that on your own. So the area of the plate will be like 1130 kilometer square, and you cannot deal with such type of capacity because you want to apply you want to use the capacitor somewhere in the electronic device, and with such a huge capacitor we cannot really use that in any electric device that we use. So you can have an idea. Okay. Next one is, suppose we have 10 microfarad capacitors we have in stock. Now suppose each one of them can withstand only 50 volt potential difference. So we have 10 microfarad. Suppose, let me wrap this part. So suppose this is our capacitor, okay, and this is 10 microfarad. This can be maximum 50 volt. But we want to have an equivalent capacitance which is 10 microfarad but can withstand 200 volt. Okay, so how can you build such type of capacitor using 10 microfarad capacitors? We have that in store. See, if we add the capacitor in series, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, then what is the total potential difference here we are getting? This is 50 plus 50 plus 50 plus 50. So already we can, this can withstand 200 volt, and this combination can withstand 400 volt, 200 volt. But what is the equivalent capacitance of this system? This is 10 microfarad, this is 10, this is 10, this is 10, and for series 1 over C equivalent is equals to 1 by C1 plus 1 by C2 plus 1 by C3 plus 1 by C4. So the equivalent capacitance is not 10 microfarad, but we want to create a capacitor of 10 microfarad. Let us see if we have this, what is the equivalent capacitance? That is 1 by 10 times 4, because all of them are equal. So C equivalent would be 10 upon 4, that's the inverse, and that will be 2.5 microfarad. So this has got equivalent capacitance 2.5 microfarad, and this can withstand 200 volt. That is good. What if we have another series like that here, like this? Then this is in parallel. Now for parallel combination, you know the equivalent resistance would be 2.5 plus 2.5, that is 5. If we have another one, then the equivalent would be 7.5 microfarad. Another one, that will be 10 microfarad. So if we have this kind of combination, okay, and if that is connected to a 200 volt battery, see, now this has got 2.5, this has got 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, so total 10 microfarads, that is the capacitance of this combination, and this can together, this can withstand 200 volt. So we need total 4 times 4, 16 10 microfarad capacitors. Individually they can tolerate, they can withstand 10 volt. Withstand means they can break down, the capacitor will be damaged if you go beyond 10 volt. There will be discharge, okay, because the plates cannot have infinite amount of charge. There is not a limit depending on the capacitance, okay. So if we have a combination like this, this can withstand 200 volt, and the total equivalent capacitance is 10 microfarad. Alright, we can have more numericals. I will give you some more numericals over the PDF. I have actually given you, please go through those, okay, and we can do more if you have the book. you can solve more. All right, and thank you very much. So we are going to start the next chapter, which is electricity, tomorrow. Thank you.